yet. It's coming to market with my team. I just wanted to make you aware of it. I think that's like just a value add on
I
that.
love that. And Phil Jones, I love using the Phil Jones. This might not be for you, but
Hmm.
so I think sometimes we get in our head and we're like, oh God, I don't want to send them this because what if it's actually not what they want? And then we feel rejected because none of us want to feel rejected. We're all scared to feel rejected, which is why we shut down when we hear the glimmer of the word no, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, this might not be for you, but, and so I used to challenge myself every day to do 10, this might not be for you, but text messages. And it's when I wake up and it's the hot sheet, I want to send 10 out. So if there's one really good property, I would say this might not be for you, but I saw this listing and I thought about you and just shoot it out first thing in the morning and start casting that net to try to get as many fish in there as possible, right? And then being really curious. Miranda wrote in the chat that with open emails, if it's a new lead that I have never talked to, she does a 3-3-3 rule. It might not act I might not actually call 3 times a day. I just call, and try to get a conversation on the phone. So, Miranda, do you want to tell, like, is it 3 texts, 3 emails, 3 calls? What is 3-3-3?
Yep, three calls the first day, then 3 times a week, then 3 times a month.
Okay, so if a lead
But
comes in or the lead has never been connected with, you call them 3 times the first day, then you call them 3 times the next week, and then you call them 3 times for the following month, essentially.
no, I typically don't end up doing 3 times a day. I typically do twice a day. And then within that same week, 3 more times. And then within the same month, 3 times, just
Who
the
on
next
who
weeks.
on here kind of cringes when they hear that? Yeah.
I,
And
I,
why, right? Is it because we feel like, oh my God, we're being so salesy?
well, I had someone tell me yesterday that I don't want people to think I don't care. So if you're not trying to get their business, then they might think, oh, she doesn't need my business that bad. I'll go to so and so who lives next door. Yeah, they aren't keeping score of your calls.
Yeah,
So,
Anna said they aren't keeping score of your calls, only you are. I
mhm.
also, we talked about this a while back, but there was like an NAR study that went out. And do you want to know the number one thing that people complained about with real estate agents?
Lack of communication.
Lack of communication. Not they call me too much. It's the opposite.
I have a couple of listings coming up where people had previous agents, and the reason they're switching is because of lack of communication.
Yeah. Anybody else with that was great, Miranda. Thank you very much. And Eli, I appreciate you jumping in. Does anybody else have anything with if you're getting email opens, but you're not getting like they're not touching you back? My question would be, how many times are you calling them? Because I don't think they're gonna see your email and then be like, oh my gosh, your email was so great, right? I think we've got to really dig for that two-way communication.
Well, I think
Yeah.
like what my issue is like I get a lot of my leads or whatever from Mojo Dialer or whatever. So like the actual numbers are not good numbers most of the time. So I don't have a way to call them, I guess. But it's like they are reading my emails and engaging, not engaging actually, but they're not unsubscribing, I guess I should say. So
Are you
that's
on
kind of like,
Follow Up Boss? What are you on?
yeah, I'm
There's
on
a
Follow Up Boss.
there are campaigns for you have a bad number but a good email, and there's
Uh-huh.
also campaigns for I have a good number but a bad email. And so
Okay.
you can look at those, but I've run those. What I'll do is I'll do an entire database search of people that have a bad email but a good phone number,
Yeah. Yeah.
narrow it that way. And then I will just run them hard on, hey, I think we have a bad phone number. It's called the bad phone number campaign. And then
Okay.
eventually it'll usually convert 20% of those people and they'll say, oh yeah, this is my phone number. You can call me anytime. And then as soon as they give that number, you can't skip
Oh.
it. You got to call them.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And then we also just implemented back Raya text. Um, and so if you have a bad email, you can do the bad if you can do the text message campaign to try to get a good email for them. And then Raya text, if you have a good phone number, she'll just relentlessly hit these people until you start getting the information you're looking for.
Yeah. Because that's what I mean. I think like, because we have the property management business as well. So oftentimes I'm able to slip in there more easily with like, hey, if selling's not for you, I can run some rental numbers for you, which I mean, you don't have to have a property management company to do that, but at least it opens the door for people to have options, because a lot of people do consider that, even though it's not like probably the end goal for, us as agents, of course, but at least gets you to that appointment and running that. So I've seen success with using that more as leverage, like, hey, it's PCS season or it's spring season or whatever it is in your market. Like, you know, I can run the sales numbers for you, and what option might be the best fit for you. I've seen success in that, but yeah, it's just like getting like turning the opens to conversation, regardless if it's a phone or just an email response, or even if it's just like, how did you get my contact information? But get some of those too. So, but yeah, I appreciate
I'm
all the
chat
feedback.
GPTing right now a response that I'll throw in the chat if it's decent, to try to really re-engage people to give those phone numbers if you have the email addresses. So I'll work on that right
Okay,
now.
that'd be great.
You guys know that mass email works the same as like SEO for your websites, right? Like Google, number one, like these they do not want to deliver heavy HTML. So the more graphics, the more like stuff you put in your emails, the less the servers actually want to deliver them. But you can work on your SEO. You can actually get your emails delivered at a higher rate into people's inboxes and avoid spam by getting opens, because that tells these mail providers, that mostly Google, that the email content is valuable and that consumers want to see it. So there is a trick in Fault Boss. When you run your report on your opens, you can go in and you can look at your open rate. And I would encourage you all, every time you send a mass email out, whether you're sending it to a specific neighborhood that you're farming or your database or whatever it is. Megan, I posted this on my story. Megan Bidwell on our team farms her old neighborhood, South Lakes, had a 92% open rate on an email last week. That is nuts. 92% open rate in a very, very, very large neighborhood. She's done that because we've gone through and we've produced really high content. They know it's good. They want to open it. But if you need to get your numbers up, you can go into the reporting in Follow Up Boss. You can click on the opens. It is actually a clickable link, and it will show you everyone that opened your email. So the nice thing about that is, if you want to make a call list from a mass email you sent, you can go down the list and say, hey, I know you received my email about new homes in da 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 da, or the market data that I sent out last week, or whatever it is. And what you should do is, when you get those open emails, you should send another email back to just that list, because it's going to show Google, no, these people are opening my email, and you're going to stay top of inbox. And I'm happy to walk through that anytime if someone has questions or they're not, and I can look at your CRM to see if you have similar features if you're not a Follow Up Boss user. But don't forget, your emails are like SEO. So it's got to be high value, and it needs to be low HTML. That's why John Cheplack coaches a lot on a lot of white space and a lot of black letters.
Yeah, and I will say this too, guys. If you don't follow John Cheplack, it's worth following and getting on his newsletter. I switched a lot of my content to the way he does it. And so again, using Chat GPT, I started kind of figuring out who my ideal client was, and who my like person that I connect with really well is. And I actually connect with men over the age of 60 years old. Okay. Like that's usually my client. That's who I do really well on listing appointments with. And so I shifted one of my threads to speaking about the market in the terms as if you were reading the New York Times. If you were opening up an email thread and it was like, how would you read it if you were a 60-year-old man in the New York Times? Then I asked ChatGPT to reword it and to make it on a third grade reading level. And when I then use that content, I do a lot of white space and a lot of black letters. There are very few emojis. There's more content. It's broken down. So not only will the 60-year-old man be able to read it, the 25-year-old, VA buyer that's coming here on PCS is going to be able to read it. He's going to be able to get quick content. You then need to take that information and disperse it in multiple forms. Put it on Instagram, put it on Facebook, put it on a video in the verbiage on YouTube. You have to figure out who the client is and what they're reading and how they're going to open it. And honestly, AI at our fingertips, I don't know how I ever existed without it. Like, you have the ability to have everything in your brain put into a computer, and then it can just change it into the way that people can read it. And so then you can ask for that to go buyers and sellers, and you can send out your weekly newsletters. I also think that people were doing these monthly newsletters with all the graphics. The market is changing so in such a volatile way that I think we need to be doing weekly right now, weekly touches. And then, like Anna said, break it down so that you can then say, okay, this group of people opened it. Now you need to call them. You need to call them. We have these databases that make this all so easy. We're not just sitting here single dialing anymore, right? And so we are leveraged, and we have to just be focusing on how we dig in to find the gold. Yep, John Cheplak, Cheplak. I just love when he yells at me. It's wonderful. Okay, anybody else on this topic? We want to make sure we get as much into this as possible. I want to open up Sue's question, but I want to go on the record to say that we are not in coercion. We are not talking about, you know, putting commission splits on the same. Anna, help me out here. What am I trying to say? We're not trying to
unilaterally. Yeah, there's no unilateral offer of compensation, which
Right.
I can say, and my team members on this call know, like, we're not playing that game at all. So I'm very comfortable talking about this because we are not pre-negotiating anything. And we are letting the market do its work. And I saw last week where even on one of our listing sides with one of our builders, they tried to negotiate down buyer agency commission. That agent is on this call. And when we came back and negotiated, we got it right back up to where she wanted it and where she'd agreed with her client. So I love talking about this topic personally.
So for anybody that doesn't understand what Anna is saying, they are in the North Carolina market. When she goes on a listing appointment, they do not fill out buyer compensation. They do not say, hey, we suggest that you pay a buyer's agent X. It is literally for the buyer's agent to call Anna, say, hi, I'm showing 111 Wilbon Street. What is your compensation you are offering? And Anna, what do you say?
We say we have prepared our sellers that they are likely going to be paying a buyer's agent, but we have not advised them exactly what number that will be. That's up to you. So when you send us terms for an offer, please include that. You can send an unsigned 2T. We have an offer information sheet you can fill out. Send us all the details. We'll run a net sheet for our seller. It's always coming down to that bottom line anyways, and we will show that to you. Now, if we have sellers that absolutely want to sell, Kristen and I have one right now. It's been on the market for 6 or 8 months. This is where we let the market do the talking. And this is what I love about this new era. I see sometimes if we have a buyer's agent that won't show one of our listings unless they get a 220 signed, fine, send me the 220. We'll explain it to our sellers. We let our sellers then make the decision, do they want to sign the 220 prior to someone coming in the house? But we are not signing. Our team 99.9% of the time, not signing any 220s at the time of listing, not having a set number. We're giving them the preparation that it's probably going to be between 2 and 3%. That's what our market yields. And that you'll be able to be in negotiation on what you want to pay out and what you want your net to look like at the end of the day.
Does that make sense? We're not saying you have to do this. We're saying that there are many ways that people are doing these things. And so, Sue, for instance, if you call and you say, hi, Allison, what is your buyer's broker compensation that your seller is offering? And I say, here is my compensation form. It's 2%. Do you have options?
Yeah.
Not at that point, I guess not, but
you do.
No, what did you pre-negotiate with your buyers ahead of time?
3.
Depends, right? So the point of it is that Sonia is my client.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't. Sorry. I thought you were paused and you were thinking. Go ahead.
Yeah, my computer keeps freezing, so I blurped out. Yeah, I mean, so is generally the way everybody's leaning for the buy side is leave it up to the seller at time of offer. And the other part of the question is on the listing side, I struggle because I've lost listings because I don't want to work for 2% for a $400,000 house. And maybe that's, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be doing that.
I shift the perspective to say it's not that I don't want to work for 2% on a $400,000 house. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I used to work and make a $700 paycheck at the end of the week. I would love to make an $8,000 paycheck for a $400,000 house, right? And the point of that is I think you shift the perspective of my value proposition is higher than that. And I also don't want to contribute to the norm of our industry having a lower commission. And so I try to change that perspective of I don't want to work for this to this is going to affect us all on this call the same if we
And
allow.
that's exactly the point. Yeah, yeah, I agree. And I don't say I don't want to work for that. I said, my yes, no, I hear what you're saying.
But you know what I mean? The more we put it into the universe, the more we talk about it, the more that we have that elevator pitch when somebody says, will you take this listing for 2%? I mean, I went up against an agent on a listing that went under contract very quickly, and I got the listing. I was $300,000 priced lower than their suggestion, lower. And that agent was going to take it for a total 1% lower than I was going to. And I got the higher commission and the listing, and I was $300,000 cheaper because I had to sit and have a conversation with them about what that looked like. Victoria has an experience that just happened to her, and she had sent a email out saying, hey, this is what the market's doing. We've gotten these lower offers than you expect. And I want to just have a conversation. She's their third agent, and the other offers with the other agents were coming in higher. So she was worried that when they asked for a phone call, they said, we need to have a phone call tonight. She was like, oh God, I might get fired because I'm now telling them the truth and I can't fix it. The market is actually kind of going down. And Victoria, what was that experience when you talked to them?
I thankfully am comfortable enough with them that I was like, oh gosh, am I going to get, are they going to let me go? Which at that point, I wasn't too nervous because I was like, I'm the third agent. So it's kind of a them problem because they're just not, you want so much, but the market can only bring so much. But the conversation went really well. There's a home, they're trying to sell land. There's a home that they want to purchase that they've got to move quickly, and they've had multiple offers on this piece of land, but everything's like 80 to 100,000 less than, what they want. And it's like, everybody wants top dollar, but unfortunately, this is what the market brings. And so they're talking with their lender this morning to make sure they have enough if they sell at this lower price, and they're strongly considering it. Whereas a week ago, oh my gosh, but it went really well. And it was like my first experience with that.
Yeah, I think she led with value, and they basically said, thank you for being honest. Thank you for telling us the truth and helping us guide us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess
Yes.
to answer your question, Sue, I mean, you're going to be in competition with people that are going to be taking these listings at a lower rate. And is anybody open to talking about that, about what it looks like if agents are offering 2% or 1.5% on the list side, and what you need to do to show your value proposition to get it? Or do you say, well, everybody else is doing it, I'm going to take the listing at 2% too, because if everybody else is doing it, then I'm going to be out of business in a year if that's the case. Does anyone want to?
I just don't want to set the bar. I don't want to be part of the people that set the bar lower for the real estate industry.
Absolutely.
I guess that's kind of my thought process.
Yeah, I'll share my take on especially on listing commissions. We carried 30% of the downtown Fuquay-Varina listings last year. That is our market. We're known there. Signs in the yard there are way more valuable to me than a sign in the yard in Wake Forest. So here's the thing. I think you have to be really clear on what does the listing do for your business, because if you're looking at a listing as a closing and a number in your book and you're not looking at it as a business builder, you're missing a huge opportunity on the listing front. So I look at it and I say, does this listing build my business? Is there more buckets that it's going to fill because of sign calls? Are you good at converting sign calls, right? There's a lot of things you have to look at in your funnel to make sure that you're set up and prepared to do it. I won't discount a listing if it's in Wake Forest. There's no benefit to me. My business is not going to grow having a one-off listing in Wake Forest. My business grows if I have a sign in downtown Fuquay. So I'm much more like, I also think about it. I know the market in downtown Fuquay. I don't even have to run comps to tell you what your house is worth in downtown Fuquay. I have all of the marketing for the drone shots and the downtown features. All of that stuff is already compiled from the body of work I've already done. It is cheaper for me to run a listing close to home. It's expensive for me to run a listing out of market that doesn't do much for me. So I think looking at the listing and making your decision listing specific, and not saying unilaterally, I'm good going to this price, or unilaterally, I'll go to this price, or even capping it in price ranges. What is the listing going to do for your business, Sue?
Yeah, that's a great point,
Going
Anna.
to push your business. Fine. Take it at 2%. Take it at 2%. The whole rest of the market's not going to know. Make sure you're getting what you need out of it though. Does that make sense?
And I think that's a good point to mention a few things like, again, she's already got amenity pictures. She's already got drone photography. You have to run it like a P&L on every single property right now because the margins are so tight. And so like, what are you going to do from a photo standpoint? I'm probably not going to do the videography and all of the things, right? If they're asking you to come to every showing, are they asking you to accompany every single showing? Are they asking you for the professional books and all of the things, right? Like this is where I think a menu of services comes in really handy. And I've started overshooting at 3.5% on the list side. I go out of the gate at 3.5% at list price. And then they usually say, well, so-and-so said that they would do it for 2.5 or 2%. Guys, I'm still ending higher than what the other person is offering because I'm showing my value. So I'm shooting high saying, if you want all of my services, this is what they are, right? And then they're like, well, so-and-so said that they would do it for 2%. And so, well, is so-and-so accompanying your showing? Is so-and-so going to host 6 open houses in the first month? Is so-and-so, you need to find that menu of services and really step down because if you say you can buy this black pair of shoes for $2, $3, or 3.5 dollars, then where are you going to go? Typically you're going to go to the $2, right? Because it's the same pair of shoes. But if you can show me that those shoes are better, why would I maybe be willing to pay an extra dollar to get those shoes? You have to figure out what that value proposition is, and you have to kind of sell based on people's psychology. And then you have to decide how much energy, effort you're going to put into it, and also what those returns are going to be. The signs, one, if you're in an environment where you can have signs, then it matters. Anybody else have anything on that?
I was just going to say, I really like that perspective because you're going in, I've done this before, you're going in and you're selling, a multi-million-dollar house. They tend to want a really high level of service. And they're like, well, we want a picture of our home in the New York Times, but we don't want to pay for it. I'm like, well, which things do you really want? Because we're not going to pay for that. You're just kind of breaking it down into the services that you offer.
Yeah, and look at it, every single transaction should be able to be broken down into a money in, money out, right? If I've got X amount of hours and my hourly wage is X, then am I willing to take this $400,000 house for 2%? Because let's be honest, right now that $400,000 house might sell in one day. That price per hour ends up going way up because you didn't have to hold that listing for 6 months, pay for pictures, accompany every showing. So again, I do not want to sit here and say that I am a proponent to say, yeah, we're taking 2% listings. However, there has to be the understanding of the why behind it. And some of those agents that are doing that, they're racking up 30, 40 listings and they're doing a lot of business and they're going to outpace us because maybe their mindset's different. Maybe they just want to cast the widest net and get as many fish in as possible. But the second part of that is that every client that you sell a house to should turn into 3 to 5 referrals. And so I want to earn your business, and you need to look at it from a very abundance mindset of this is not my standard and this is not my normal, but I'm going to get you because I'm going to give you the best service possible. And I'm going to get your mama, your sister, your daddy, everybody.
Yeah, I had this conversation with Leanna. We were talking about this, how she had property management clients that didn't want to pay her. They wanted to go with someone that was going to charge 1.5 or 2%. And 100%, that's your business decision to make, whether you want to work with them or not. But I go into the table with particularly our Sphere clients, and all the agents on my team know this because they're like, they know what the commission amount is going to be before they ask. But a lot of times I'll say, hey, I'm gonna charge you 2.5% to list this house. But here's the deal. If you pay a buyer's agent, what's kind of normal in our market, which is a weird number, it's 2.4. There's a good chance I can get you out the door sub 5%. That is insane. That is a huge discount to you. Here's why I'm willing to give it to you, because I know in the next 30 days, you're going to introduce me to 2 or 3 people. That is going to be part of our agreement. 2 or 3 people that are going to help me build my business. The flip side to this is I know that our team takes about 2 buyers for every every listing that we carry. So when you can do that math, it can help you. But if you don't have the system set up to receive the sign calls, and I think solo agents struggle with it more because you don't want to dual agency as many times some of these deals. But learning that most of the time when people make that sign call, this house is not the one for them. And how are you going to continue that relationship beyond the sign call? That is one of our top 5 lead sources. We're closing a $1.4 million house and a $700,000 buy in the next 30 days on a sign call. They're good. Right now, they're real good.
Does that help, Sue?
Yes, yes. All great points. No, thank you. That was great.
Does anybody else have anything on this topic, or we try to make sure that we use your time as wisely as possible? We would love to sit on the Zoom for another hour if you guys find value in that and you want that, but we are trying to be very, conscientious of your time and your days. And so if we have another topic that we'd love to talk about, we are all ears and we are here for it.
If not, I'd love to share with you guys something that we have coming up. So let me pull this for us and I'll screen share, Al.
Oh, I'm so excited about this.
Yeah. I know sometimes you get tired of listening to us. I get tired of listening to myself sometimes.
I know that my whole team hates the sound of my voice. I'm pretty.
So, a lot of you were on a few weeks ago. We had a friend of ours, Dave Frost, on our call. And so we've been he has a coaching company in the back side of his real estate business. And we asked him, would he put something together specifically for our group? And so I want to share with you what's coming up, and we'll make sure we get some information out today on what you can expect. I don't know how well you can see this because I'm just sharing my Canva, but he's going to do 3 days. He is going to, it looks like I have a clickable link here. And then you'll have access to his whole back in Rainmaker U system for a month. And Anne's gone through some of his training. But we love this because you've got one session that's going to be mindset driven, just like deciding what your value proposition is going to be. Day 2, you're going to go through buyer side stuff. Day 3, you'll be going into more heavy listing stuff. I know how long Dave talks. This will not be the amount of time that you're with him. I'm sure it's going to go over. But this course he's offering for $79 through us, which is a deep discount just to try to get some people over. So if this is something that's interesting to you, this is going to start on April. Hold on. I think I'll put it in an email today to everybody in the group. But gonna start rolling out April 28th, April 30th, and May 2nd. So it'll be spaced apart a little bit. And I'll if you don't mind just chiming in a little bit about your experience working with Dave in the past, but we wanted to make sure that we were providing you guys some opportunities to hear from other people other than just us.
Yeah, Dave is really great. He actually he's prior military. So getting his kind of thought process on how he works clients and how he works his business is so different from like, I'm such an emotional like girl, sometimes with my clients and stuff. And so for Dave to have that kind of raw, like, this is how you're going to succeed. And he really has succeeded and has an amazing team of agents who love him. Like, he does a really good job, but it's nice to have that kind of different perspective on how he runs his business.
So if you guys are interested in this, we'll make sure we email out today the information that you need to get registered for this. Again, we negotiated this with him. He doesn't normally offer anything that looks like this, but we know this is kind of how our people roll. We want to give you guys a good opportunity to get in and get some additional training. So we will get this out today. And if you guys have any other needs in your business or questions or whatever, please let us know during the week so that we can get this stuff accessible to you. Did I miss anything, Al?
No, I think we just have one. Janet said, I missed this. What if you offer to list for 3%, but if their home sells in the first 30 days, you agree to give them a 5% discount at closing? I would say our MLS calls that variable compensation. So just be very careful. I am not the MLS guru, but you have to be very careful on the way that you market and people understand what is happening, because it can be steering in some kind of shape or form. So just be very careful. If that's something that you really want to offer, we can have that conversation. I would want to pull our MLS in just because our board's very strict about how you market, especially with the NAR stuff going on. Just be careful with those kind of nuances. It's a great idea. I had that idea a few years ago. I had a client that said if I sold their house for 100% of list price, I got 4%. And if I sold it for 98 to 99, I got it. It was a step down. I was like, this is so smart. What a tier. And then I got my hand slapped because it was like, yeah, well, there's a way that you can then course or steer in some way to make sure that your compensation is higher based upon the result of a transaction, which is called variable compensation. Again, I'm not a broker and I'm not the guru of all things, but I do know that you have to be careful on some of those things. So we can always have that conversation in depth another time if needed. Okay? Guys, I hope this was helpful.
Thank you.
Anna and I want to replace one of our actual classes a month with a mastermind of sorts. We feel like this is very helpful for us to kind of get our thoughts out and contribute and collaborate. And again, I just sent a video out to my team saying that the more people you help get what they want, the faster you get what you want. It's all about mindset, and it's all about, helping others and success through others, and coming on Wednesdays and seeing all of your faces is amazing. And I want you guys to take note of who is on this call and know that we are all partners together, no matter what brokerage, no matter what business model you're running, and no matter where you are in this career, we can all learn something from one another. So I am very thankful for you all, and we will see you next Wednesday.
See you Wednesday.
Thank
We're gonna send an email out for Dave
tomorrow
stuff,
at
so.
the beach.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.